It's narrated one evening at the dawn of the 20th century in the Kingdom of Poland. A 10-year-old boy called Raymond, who was rather rowdy, was provoked by his mother with this question: "What kind of man will you grow up to be?" Disturbed Raymond approached and prayed to the Mother of God, asking her what kind of man he was to be. In answer to his prayer, Mary appeared to him later that night, holding two crowns. Mary, who had seen her own divine Son accept a crown of thorns, held out two crowns to this young man. The first crown was white, which signified virginity. The second crown was red, signifying martyrdom. Mary asked Raymond if he were willing to accept either crown. The young man's answer was breathtaking: "I choose both." After his encounter with Mary, Raymond's demeanor changed considerably. Less playful, but increasingly joyful as he came to comprehend his mission and calling. He decided to become a Franciscan and was ordained in 1918. Raymond's name was changed to Father Maximilian Kolbe. He also traveled to Japan as a missionary, but was unable to stay longer as he was attacked by the tuberculosis and it was getting worse, so returned to his native. The Nazi party had grown strong and Kolbe was certain they would seize Poland. It was done. But Kolbe was never afraid of circulating materials critical of Nazis. The Nazis had seen enough of his writings that demonstrated the evils and lies of Nazism. And on February 17, 1941, Father Kolbe was picked up and arrested. On May 28, he was sent to his final earthly destination, Auschwitz. Once in Auschwitz, the 47-year-old priest who had suffered from tuberculosis for 2 decades was given extra work. His prison life is being narrated thus: one day, in an event of incredible resemblance to Passion of Christ, Father Kolbe was ordered to carry wooden logs but fell under their weight, only to be brutally beaten by the guards as he lay on the ground. He was then given 50 lashes and thrown into the woods to die. Yet he did not die. Instead, he was carried to the infirmary where, in clear disobedience of Nazi regulations, he heard confessions of the sick and suffering. The survivors at Auschwitz later indicated to Kolbe's tender love for his fellow prisoners and his charity, which even included giving away the little share of soup and food allotted to him. It so happened that in July a prisoner had ran off, which came to the notice of Nazis. The Nazis had a process of punishing the remaining prisoners after a flee. 10 men would be starved to death. When one of these men appealed, "My wife, my children," Father Maximilian Kolbe broke position and made a plea of his own: "I am a Catholic priest. I want to die for that man. I am old. He has a wife and children." Father Kolbe's dying wish was consented, and he was led away to die naked in a dark cellar. In fact, the Nazis were expecting to hear cries of sorrow and anguish. But to their disillusion, they heard surprisingly singing sound from his cell. Maximilian Kolbe was heard singing Marian hymns in honor of his Immaculate Queen. 2 weeks later, the Nazis again had seen and heard enough. Father Kolbe had not succumbed to starvation, so he was injected with a fatal dose of phenol on August 14th. The feast of the Assumption was the next day, but this one was extraordinary because while Catholics across the world celebrated Mary's entrance into heaven, Father Maximilian Maria Kolbe had entered heaven himself, and this time he would celebrate it with his Heavenly Mother in person, bringing to fruition his mysterious childhood vision of the 2 crowns. The Catholic Church venerates him as the patron saint of amateur radio operators, drug addicts, political prisoners, families, journalists, and prisoners. John Paul declared him the patron saint of our difficult century.